So how to swim safe in the ocean? The overarching of it all really came down to sharks and rip currents. So when it comes to rip current in the ocean, the biggest thing we think about is panicking and swimming parallel to the shore. Now, I find these things confusing, especially for little kids. Not really the panicking part, that's kind of innate. But if things become second nature, then they tend to just kind of resolve themselves. And that's really the whole point of Swimsafe. You know, we want to teach the ocean safety to others so that it becomes an instinct more than a reaction. Also, the flags, the lifeguards, all those great things that those wonderful people do is to protect us. And it's now our job to help everybody understand the ocean. If we understand the ocean, it will come full circle where you can actually enjoy all the fulfillment of it. So there's kind of a two-part entity going on there. It's important to be safe, but the reason it's important to be safe is so that you can have everything it has to offer. So, rip currents. I do have a little bit of a pet peeve, and I've even seen the Weather Channel actually do this when they talk about the winds and the strong risk of rip currents, and they actually termed it rip tides. Now, there's only two kind of tides. That's low tide and high tide. So I just wanted to make sure we're all speaking the same language in that regard, because the language is really the most important. Why is that? It's because it's how we understand things. So when it comes to those protectors that we have, the flags and the lifeguards and everything they represent, we've kind of stopped listening to them. So it's our mission to basically change the language through creativity and fun so that people can hear again and really get a concept on everything, but for it to be personal and within inside you, so it doesn't seem like rules. One question posed was how to recognize possible dangerous rip currents before I go in the ocean. This is pretty simple to do when we know what to look for. And Swimsafe itself, within the courses that your children or yourself might actually get to enjoy, is there's 7, we call them dude rules, because he's our mascot and it's the dude rules. Get it? And there's 7 of them, and they all go through emotion from your starting point, from not being by yourself, never swimming alone, to making sure you're taking those safety breaks all the way at the end and watching the weather and everything in between. So in regards to the rip currents and the question that I posed, how to recognize possible dangerous rip currents before I go in the ocean. This is pretty simple, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this. So when you are heading to the beach, obviously you're excited, things are great. And what you want to do is we always look out in the ocean. And the things that you want to signal your brain to recognize so you can see where that rip current might be. There's quite a few of them. I'm just going to kind of go down the list. You need to look for, sometimes there are channels of churning and choppy water. When you look outward, there will be a notable difference in the color, and probably not my number one, but one that is very obvious to recognize is a line of foam, seaweed, or debris moving along with the current. And I think this one, we always think of like what's in the ocean or what is that, and really what it is your clue to recognize that is where a rip current is at the moment. Probably, definitely the number one is the break in the incoming of the waves. So what do I mean by that? I mean sandbars are not for relaxing and stretching on. Sandbars create a riff next to them, and the tides kind of dictate things as far as low and high tide and being able to see those sandbars. And in between sandbars is a very dangerous area, and that is where the rip current is. It's actually how the sandbars are formed. Those are where, the waves are actually breaking on the sandbar. We think that is kind of like, the breaking waves or the dangerous area because, it looks forceful, and it is forceful. But it's really the area next to it where it's calm and peaceful. When you see breaking waves, that actually means that there's land underneath that it's breaking on, the reason it is breaking. And the peaceful motion next to it is actually where that rip current resides. So channel turning, choppy water, you've got some noticeable difference in color, and a line of foam, seaweed, or debris moving along with the current. There are two questions that go right alongside of this that they coincide with talking about rip currents. Now, one of them is how to help someone caught in a rip current. And then another one, how to identify a rip current and how to swim horizontally to get out of it. Now, this is what we all, were taught to do, swim parallel. Swimsafe is, we changed that language because it's just confusing for little kids, and sometimes for ourselves when we're panicking, we don't really need to think about those things. So again, with the understanding and the knowledge that we have, we can kind of do things a little bit differently. Swimming horizontally, so to speak, or parallel is not wrong by nature at all, but sometimes when our adrenaline gets going, it's just a little too much for our brains to process. The rip current, if you happen to be caught in one, the rip current is going to release at some point. If you notice anything floating in the water, really, it always comes back to shore. Now, if you do get caught in a rip current, it will take you quickly out, far past where you expected to be. It's a very strong motion. It doesn't pull you under. We put ourselves under through panic. It just takes you out. With that being said, if we just make sure to recognize that situation, realize and be aware of our surroundings, and looking at our landmarks is a great way to do that. If you are wondering if you're in a rip current or if you've been caught in one, you really just need to look at your landmarks that you have made for yourself alongside coming into the beach. And if you can't find them, they're hard to make out, then it's usually a pretty good indication that you're either in one or you might have gotten caught in one for a moment. Now, I say for a moment because it will release itself. So it's really more than parallel swimming or thinking horizontally. We need to be aware of our surroundings, recognize our landmarks. We need to release our fears. Water makes us float. You're gonna be fine, especially salt water. We learn to just recognize and release those moments in the time. Then what will happen is the ocean will feed us back into the shoreline, and it's pretty spectacular actually. So to recognize that you are caught in one, or you may have gotten caught in one, we need to recognize where we're at, be aware. We need to release our fears once we realize we're well past where our landmarks should be at the moment, and just need to wait it out. When that happens, you are able to swim to safer water, and you'll be a little bit safer in the ocean. Another question that was posed: how to help someone caught in a rip current? This was just an amazing question that hit home for me, mainly because when I was about 9 years old, my mother and I were in duck with our family, and she actually got caught in a rip current, and she knew how to survive. She had some swimming skills when she was 15, way back when, and she knew the core things to do to just let things be and wait it out. She was definitely scared, and that's okay. You're supposed to be scared, you're kind of surviving things at the moment, but scared and panic are two totally different things. So anyways, I was about 9, and I've been on the swim team ever since I was 5. So, I was 9, I was pretty strong. Personally, I felt that way. And she kept telling me to go swim for help. And I thought I could pull her in. And, of course, I fought with her a little bit back and forth, at least my memory serves. And I finally listened to her. She kept saying over and over, go get help, go get a stronger swimmer. And so that's what I did. I swam into shore and got someone who was stronger in swimming than me. And my mom's life ended up being saved. Now, that is really more than anything, if you are alongside someone, the best thing that you can do if you cannot help them yourselves physically is to swim into shore and get help, whether that be a lifeguard, whether that be somebody, a family member who can actually go out and bring them back in so they both can be safe. We see it all the time, sometimes in the summer, and, someone trying to, instinctively, of course, save their child, something's happened, and just ends up being tragic because the strength isn't there for both of them. So make sure you go swimming, get somebody into shore, and that's the best way to do that. If you're in a group, I actually have a group survival course, and I've actually linked it with team building, thanks to Donna. I appreciate that, by the way. A great time with her girls, volleyball girls at the Founders. And the group survival is so important because you can help someone who is in a rip current, and it's all about teamwork. So I also want to say the world's largest swimming lesson is going to just simply be a fantastic event. I couldn't be more excited for all of you coming. Last year, I did hold it. I probably had about 30 or so kids, but it was very in the moment of everything. And I'm very blessed and very thankful to have a little bit more time this year to help break that Guinness Book of World Records. I will send out information probably when it gets closer to the date. We're actually doing an open water world's largest swimming lesson in addition to the other properties that have pools and will be held inside. I'm kind of still organizing all that, but it's going to be fantastic, and I couldn't be more grateful. So moving along, when it comes to the ocean, before I move on to sharks, it really comes down to understanding things that we don't know about. Usually those are, hopes, fears, dreams. They all kind of come together when we understand things a little bit more. Little side story for a moment. I actually, myself and my partner, the other half of Swimsafe, some of you have met that gentleman. I was a pool baby. And like I said before, on swim team, certainly not a competitive person by any means. I was the one on the sidelines, cheering for the team, which kind of led me to my coaching career and my love of swimming, and which has led me here. So when my partner with the business, when we met years ago, he was an ocean swimmer, so to speak. Grew up in the ocean. That's, that was his pool. Like I said before, I was raised in a pool. So as a swimmer raised in a pool, the gunshot goes off and that's it. You're at the other end. And what do you have to do? You have to push the water, to go faster. That's how swimming works. So that personal push is just an amazing thing in swimming. Well, take that concept and then plop me in the ocean where, I've always been a quote-unquote avid surfer, even though we live in Virginia and there's ways around doing it. Just enjoying the water in general has been, my whole life. And the one thing that I always did that I didn't realize was I would always push the water in the ocean. If you take anything away from them throughout the years of experience and the development of this amazing business that I'm so thankful to have as my passion in my life, don't fight the ocean. And I don't mean don't panic or anything like that. Watch the current, be aware, and let it take you. Not take you out. If that happens, obviously, it's going to release you. But if we move alongside in the ocean the way that it wants to, along with its current and its creatures, we're all going to be safer, and we're all going to enjoy ourselves.